Okay, let's get into this. When you look at the official date for modern Saudi Arabia, September 23rd, 1932, it seems, well, pretty straightforward, doesn't it? Just a date on a calendar. But what if we told you that date is just the very end of a really long story, like centuries long, packed with alliances, betrayals, families coming back from, well, seemingly nowhere, and even this wild moment with a treasure spring of oil literally gushing out.
It really is an incredible history. Not simple at all. It's this constant cycle of ambition, collapse, and rebuilding. So today, we're doing a deep dive into that whole saga, the House of Saud. We're tracing how they went from, a local power in the desert to founding one of the most significant nations in the Islamic world today.
Right.
And what's really striking is how far back you have to go, way before 1932. The Al Saud family, their origins, you can trace them to around 1725. Emir Saud bin Mohammed bin Mukran, and get a picture Najd back then, Central Arabia. It wasn't unified. It was basically a landscape dotted with small, independent towns and rulers, everyone for themselves, sort of.
So a real patchwork. Not a kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And Emir Saud's sons, especially Mohammed bin Saud, he ruled Diriyah, this small town. They had this, well, huge ambition, didn't they? They actually vowed to create a proper Saudi kingdom across Najd. That's a big goal from where they started.
A massive goal.
Yeah.
And that ambition, it found the perfect partner. This is key. Enter Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Wahhab. He was a very influential scholar from Najd, and he was all about reforming Muslim beliefs, purifying them, as he saw it.
Yeah.
So they meet. Mohammed bin Saud and Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Wahhab, 1745. And this meeting, this agreement they made, it wasn't just a political pact. It became the absolute bedrock of the future Saudi state.
Okay, so what was the actual deal? It wasn't just, you help me, I help you. No, it was more intricate. Mohammed bin Saud promised to use his growing power to establish his rule not just in Najd, but also Hejaz, that's the western part, with Mecca and Medina. And crucially, in return, he'd actively spread Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Wahhab's very strict puritanical interpretation of Islam. So it's like political power fused with a very specific religious mission right from the start.
Exactly, a unique blueprint. And, initially, it worked incredibly well. By the time Mohammed bin Saud died in 1765, and then Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Wahhab in 1791, their influence, the House of Saud's rule, had spread across most of the Arabian Peninsula. They'd built something substantial.
But history's rarely that simple, right? It wasn't just a straight line upwards. There must have been challenges, big ones.
Oh, absolutely. Huge setbacks followed. Mohammed bin Saud's successor, Imam Abdulaziz, killed in 1803. Then his son Saud takes over, but he dies just a decade later, 1814. Succession was clearly fragile.
And then came Abdullah, Saud's son. He faced the really big one, didn't he?
He did. A devastating blow. He was a respected religious scholar himself, but under his rule, they lost a lot of territory. Their capital, Diriyah, actually fell to the Ottomans.
The Ottoman Empire.
Yeah,
Wow.
And Abdullah himself, captured, dragged off to Istanbul, and executed. I mean, that's about as bad as it gets for a ruling family. It really looked like the end of the road for the Al Saud dream.
Okay, that's a dramatic fall, near total collapse. But resilience seems to be the theme here. They didn't just disappear.
Not at all. Even after that, Abdullah's brother, Masharik, he briefly clawed back some control. Didn't last long, though. The Ottomans were just too strong at that point. The territory fell back under their influence. It shows you the immense pressure they were under.
Right, you had the Ottomans, you mentioned Egypt earlier, other tribes. Establishing any kind of lasting state must have been incredibly hard.
Immensely. But the ambition just didn't die out. It passed down the generations. And then a new chapter starts. Prince Turki bin Abdullah, he was Abdullah's nephew, he manages to capture Riyadh in 1824. He ruled from there until 1835. Riyadh becomes the new center. Another resurgence.
So this whole period, like the 19th century, it's just this constant up and down, power shifting, fighting for dominance.
Pretty much. A constant struggle against empires, against rivals. You even see Imam Abdul Rahman, who was the father of the famous Abdulaziz we'll get to, he briefly regained power in 1888. Just highlights that constant flux, that fight for survival.
Which leads us finally to the Abdulaziz, the one who really pulls it all together.
Yes, Prince Abdulaziz ibn Abdurrahman al Saud, often just known as Ibn Saud in the West. He was, by all accounts, incredibly ambitious, very determined, a real strategic thinker. Around 1900, while his father, Abdul Rahman, was technically still around, he starts the push. The big push to reclaim everything and more.
And he starts strong, capturing Riyadh in 1902. That felt symbolic.
Absolutely. Declaring it the capital again, that was a statement.
And he didn't stop there, did he? The conquest continued.
Nope. He kept going. Al-Asa, Qatif, other parts of Najd, systematically expanding his base, building momentum.
Okay, so Abdulaziz is building his power base in Najd and the east. But what about the west? Hejaz, Mecca, Medina.
Ah, right. That was under different control then. Sharif Mecca Hussein. The Sharifs were descendants of the Prophet, traditionally custodians of the holy sites, often had some independence, even under the Ottomans. And Sharif Hussein, during World War I, he saw an opportunity. He rebels against the Ottomans, against Turkey in June 1916, and he gets backing from Arab tribes and significantly from the British.
So Britain is backing Sharif Hussein in Hejaz. He declares independence, takes Mecca, declares himself ruler of all Arabs. Britain recognizes him as Shah of Hejaz in late 1916. So now you've got two major players, both with British connections, both aiming for regional dominance. Abdulaziz and Hussein, that sounds like a collision course.
Absolutely. A collision was inevitable. While Hussein was doing his thing in Hejaz, Abdulaziz was also busy conquering eastern Arabia, consolidating his power, and crucially, he also signs a friendship treaty with Britain, December 1915. So Britain was playing both sides, or at least hedging its bets. Abdulaziz was positioning himself carefully.
And the collision came. How did that play out? Who won?
Abdulaziz won decisively. He moved against Hejaz, conquering it by September 1924. And here's a key factor. The local population wasn't entirely happy with Sharif Hussein's rule. Many actually sided with Abdulaziz.
Oh, really? So that helped him.
Definitely. Hussein abdicated in favor of his son, Ali, but Abdulaziz just kept advancing. The momentum was unstoppable. Ali had to abdicate too.
So Abdulaziz takes the holy cities.
Yes. Mecca falls in October 1924, Medina in December 1925. Then Jeddah, the port city, also December 1925. With Jeddah's fall, Ali's abdication was complete. The Hashemite rule in Hejaz was over. Abdulaziz controlled it all.
Wow, so swift, really, when the final push came. And that leads to the formal declaration.
Pretty much. January 8th, 1926, a big ceremony. Yeah. Abdulaziz ibn Abdul Rahman al-Saud declares himself ruler of the combined kingdom of Najd and Hejaz. He'd done it, unified the heartlands.
And international recognition followed, from Britain specifically.
It did. Britain formally recognized his rule over all these territories in May 1927. They accepted the new reality. And then the final step we mentioned at the start, September 23rd, 1932, Shah Abdulaziz officially changes the name from Kingdom of Hejaz and Najd to Al-Mamlaka al-Arabiya al-Saudiya.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, there it is.
The birth of the modern state.
So unification achieved, but building a nation is more than just conquering territory. What did Abdulaziz do next?
Well, two things happened almost simultaneously, shaping the future kingdom profoundly. First, he immediately started embedding that specific Islamic character based on Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Wahhab's teachings into the state structure. And second, sheer unbelievable luck. They found oil. Vast amounts of it.
The oil. That changes everything, doesn't it?
Completely transforms the picture. In 1933, Abdulaziz signs a deal with an American company, California Petroleum, later part of Chevron. But it wasn't instant riches. The first few years were tough. Not much oil found. Experts were getting discouraged.
Right. You mentioned the Treasure Springs story. That was 1938.
That's the one, 1938. After years of pretty disappointing results, the American experts were literally packing up, ready to call it quits. And then suddenly, boom, this massive gusher erupts. The Treasure Spring, it apparently shocked even them.
Incredible timing, just as they were giving up.
Exactly. And this wasn't just money. It fundamentally changed how the state operated. Suddenly, they weren't just reliant on, religious legitimacy or military power. They had immense wealth. It allowed them to build infrastructure, provide services, cement their rule, project power, all much faster than would otherwise have been possible. It was like hitting the geological jackpot.
A completely different trajectory. But alongside the oil wealth, there were those religious policies you mentioned, implementing Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Wahhab's ideas.
Yes. A key part of that was the elimination of what they termed bidat innovations in religion, things they saw as deviations from pure early Islamic practice. Anything that might hint at idolatry or saint veneration was targeted.
And this connects to the Genital Baki incident. That sounds controversial.
Extremely controversial, yes. Genitul Baki is this very ancient, very important cemetery in Medina.
Right, you said it means place of abundant wild plants. Baki al-Gharqad.
Exactly. It dates back to the Prophet Muhammad's time. Thousands of early Muslims, companions of the Prophet, including figures like Hazrat Usman bin Mazun, are buried there. Immense historical and religious weight.
So what happened?
Well, on April 21st, 1926, fairly early on, Shah Abdulaziz ordered the demolition of all the domes and structures built over the graves there.
Why? What was the reasoning?
From the perspective of Abdulaziz and the Wahhabi scholars advising him, these domes and mausoleums encouraged veneration of the dead, potentially leading to shirk or polytheism. Removing them was seen as restoring pure monotheism,
But how is that received elsewhere?
with widespread anger and condemnation, especially, though not exclusively, from Shia Muslims, but also from many Sunnis across the world. They saw it as the destruction of sacred Islamic heritage, a desecration. It caused a huge outcry and remains a point of contention today. If you go there now, it's essentially a flat, unmarked field, though pilgrims still visit the site, of course. It's a stark visual representation of those early religious policies.
What a journey, seriously. We've gone from, what, the 1700s, this family's ambition in a small town, through alliances, collapses, Ottoman wars, resurgence, the rivalry with Sharif Hussein, all the way to unifying the peninsula, and then this almost unbelievable discovery of oil changing everything, plus these deeply held religious convictions shaping policy, sometimes controversially. It all comes together to make Saudi Arabia.
It really does. It's this unique blend, isn't it? This powerful religious vision driving them for centuries, combined with incredible resilience, and then topped off with this completely unexpected geological windfall. That combination is pretty rare in nation-building stories.
It really is. So as you think about this whole deep dive, this unique foundation, this mix of, deeply held faith, the realities of power politics, and then this sudden, massive resource wealth, what questions does that leave you with about how nations like this are formed and how those foundational elements continue to shape their role in the world today?